Although the spawn system in Vanguard is one of the worst and most messy we've had in Call of Duty, there is a method to the madness. So today we're going over how to read spawns on any map without needing to know literally every spawn point. You know what to do, so let's hop right into understanding and reading spawns. We're primarily going to focus on Hardpoint because with Hardpoint, spawns are half the battle, as securing the preferred spawns provides a constant flow of reinforcements, safer and quicker access to the given objective. It's important to keep in mind that each individual player's spawn in Vanguard is determined on a moment-by-moment basis, and is dictated by 3 specific factors, with the first factor being either team's sphere of influence and map control. That might sound obvious, but this is in contrast to Cold War and the traditional Call of Duty spawn system, where each team generally spawns on a specific side of the map. In Vanguard, you have what some people call squad spawns, although I'll tell you why in a moment. That term isn't necessarily accurate, but they call them squad spawns because your spawn is not dictated by a side of the map, rather the location of your teammates in correlation with the enemy team's positions. So rather than thinking of it in terms of sides of the map, think of it in terms of spheres of influence, and those spheres of influence interact with one another like water and oil. They are fluid, they cannot mix, at least most of the time, but they can be split. Now, the reason I believe the term squad spawns isn't necessarily accurate is because although your teammates' locations matter, there are designated primary and secondary spawn points on the map, and seeing as each player carries with them their own sphere of influence, if there is a spawn zone within that sphere, the system will elect to place you there. So it's not just spawning you on a random place on the map because your teammate is there. It's spawning you in a primary or secondary spawn point that your teammate is near. That will become relevant in a moment. So the first factor that is considered by the spawn system is player positions, and the second factor is the objective, meaning the spawn system will select the safest main spawn point within your team's sphere of influence that is closest to the current objective or one of the objectives if there are multiple. Think domination or control. A clear-cut example of this is on P3 on Berlin. If you have the preferred spawns, your team will generally be spawning on this backside of the hill on docks, whereas the opposing team will generally spawn on the outer area near tickets. In contrast, the dock spawn is irrelevant on a hill like P4 because it's on the complete other side of the map and the preferred spawns would be behind the warehouse. However, this outer long spawn is still viable as it is the closest primary spawn to P4 other than the warehouse. That being said, this is why it is important to push past an objective, because if your team were to block the warehouse spawn and the outer long spawn, the spawn system would be forced to select an even further spawn on this side of the map, at which point your opponent is going to need to traverse a longer distance to even contest. And the last factor the spawn system takes into account is numbers, meaning the spawn system will elect to spawn your team within the stronger sphere of influence or where most of your teammates are located. To better understand this, let's take a look at Bocage Hardpoint, where the focus on P1 is typically not necessarily get hill time, but to secure the spawns for P2. I'm going to show you 2 matches from the professional Call of Duty League, one where a team is unsuccessful in flipping the spawns, and the other that is successful. The first clip we're looking at is a match between the Toronto Ultra and the Florida Mutineers. The Mutineers in white spawn on the preferred barn side, and the Ultra in purple are attempting to secure those spawns for P2. Watch as number 2 in Cami just makes it behind the Mutineers as they spawn up. However, despite his location and the kill he gets on number 5, his team's sphere of influence is heavily weighted on the other side of the map because of number 3 and 4, while the Mutineers in 6 and 7 have the numbers on this side. 2 white arrows to 1 purple, making the flip unsuccessful. Now let's take a look at a successful flip by Optic Texas against the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Right off the break, you can see Texas sends 2 players, number 2 and 4 in Scump and Proloot, through the bottom river side of the map, which already provides him with numbers required for a flip considering it's 4v4. Now the fatal flaw of LAG is that number 8 in Hook pushed up a little bit too far to flank number 3, and just as he does, his teammates number 7 in Gunless and number 6 in Asim go down, which has now shrunk and shifted their sphere of influence to just the top side of the map, while Optic in numbers see that they have 2 down and quickly progress down through the river. And there it is, the instant flip. If we were to look at this purely through the lens of map influence, you would see that number 8's positioning wouldn't be a problem as long as 6 and 7 stay up. But when they go down, they have no contingency anchor for those spawns. It came down to 2 kills, positioning, and numbers. That being said, if you are able to make it behind the enemy team's sphere of influence, but you don't have the numbers, you would need to sit tight and wait until the rest of your team progresses up the map while also getting kills in order to shift the balance. In summation, the 3 factors you want to keep in mind while reading or securing spawns is spheres of influence or map control, the objective, and numbers. And the most accurate way to determine where the enemy team is spawning is knowing where your team is spawning. So make sure that you're looking for your team's spawns on your minimap, and always remember to call out where you're spawning to your team. This is all of course subject to Vanguard doing Vanguard things, and the unfortunate thing about this game is that the spawn system is still a bit wonky, and it will result in some weird outcomes. But I hope that this helps you understand the spawn system just a little bit more. Click on this video if you want some tips on how to manipulate spawns to your advantage. I'll see you tomorrow on day 2 of 30 of posting every day. But you know what to do. My name is Drew, this was Sablehound, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, I want to be famous.